Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. It is an absolute honor to have you here in this video today. Okay, so what I'm going to be speaking about is why your darkest times can oftentimes be the most valuable times in your life. What is it about going through rough situations? What is it about heavy, dark emotions? What is it about not knowing where things are going that literally provides such an amazing opportunity to really discover who you actually are and to, I think most importantly, love yourself as you are? All right, so if this is something you're interested in, let's jump in. So, from what I've come to learn in my own life experience is that the times in my life where I've gone through some of the most challenging, rough, unknown, and in many ways hurtful experiences that leave me feeling broken, leave me feeling sensitive, leave me feeling vulnerable, I've come to find that it's actually these times in my life where I'm actually learning to love myself the most. And the reason why I feel this way is because, and I'm going to speak for myself, is when I'm feeling exposed or I'm feeling vulnerable, and maybe there's certain parts of myself that are really deep rooted that I've potentially been trying to control or trying to hide for many years, and this can oftentimes even be unconscious. When these parts of me come to the surface and they want to be seen by myself, that always feels really uncomfortable because whatever I've been through in my past, there was certain things that I believed that made me feel that these parts of me can never come through, or this emotion isn't valid, or it shouldn't be there, or this, really gentle, sensitive part of me is too weak or too vulnerable, and people are going to hurt me or take advantage of me, or they're not going to like that part of me. Whenever I'm feeling this within, and I'm feeling this inside of myself, it never feels good. That's really the best way to put it. It feels uncomfortable. It feels dense. But the interesting thing is that I can't avoid it. It's literally there. And there's nothing that I can do to literally control it or change it. I've already tried, and it just doesn't work. So what I've come to learn from my experience is that, this energy that is getting triggered or that's surfacing as I'm growing as a person, even if it's parts of me that I don't like, doesn't mean that they're inherently bad. It's very likely that the belief system that I had towards these parts of myself is where I went wrong, or what I once used to survive a rough situation, but is no longer real anymore. I don't need to hold the belief that this part of me is too sensitive, or it's too vulnerable, or that I'm going to be attacked and manipulated and abandoned by people. Because the truth is that even if those things did happen, I know that I can protect myself, and I know that I'm going to love myself regardless. So what I've come to learn is that when these parts are getting triggered that can feel very dark and heavy, I've started to love them. And that doesn't mean like, oh my gosh, like, yay, this is awesome. No, it's not that. It's I'm starting to hold space for these energies to present and to come through from a place of compassion and a place of curiosity, which means I'm going to create space within my own body to let this energy speak, to let it come through my nervous system. And I'm not going to move directly into shaming it or criticizing it. I'm going to let it express in the way that it needs to. And I'm going to feel the emotions that are also behind it. So what I've come to see is that there's many of these deeper repressed parts of me that are carrying things like shame, a deep feeling of I'm not good enough. I'm inherently broken. I'm not worthy of love and connection. I noticed that some of these parts of me carry like a deep fear from that shame. And also a deep sadness, like why? It's sad that, I feel that way. So as these parts sort of present themselves, when they do, what I allow myself to do is hold space for those feelings and for those emotions that come with it. And this is honestly the most challenging part of this process here, is just simply allowing and accepting this to be there. But remember, as I said, it's like I don't feel I have much of any other choice. I mean, I can try to run from it. I can try to distract myself. I can try to further suppress it. But I'm already at a point in my own life where I know inherently that's not the answer. And that's not going to help me live the life that I truly want to live. And it's not something that's sustainable anyways, because I've already tried it. So through this journey of accepting and being present, I've come to appreciate a lot of these parts of me that used to be so exiled and so buried away. And it's taken me to really deep places within my psyche and within my mental. It's brought me to places where I've had to almost visit the worst case scenario with different situations like finances and relationships and health, where I can sometimes feel like, what if this person abandons me? Even if on the surface, I know they're likely not going to do that. It's like, sometimes I can feel like it's still going to happen. So rather than, being upset that I feel that way and trying to shift what I'm feeling or change my belief, I experiment with it and I say, you know what? I do know that it's unlikely this will happen, but even if it did happen, how would that feel for me? What would come up? If this person that I really care about just decides to leave one day and say, hey, I'm not really, resonating with you anymore, and I don't want to keep connecting, how would that actually make me feel if they just left? And the answer to that question is, when I explore it, is hurt. I would feel shame. I would feel deep unworthiness. Like, wow, this person that I thought was someone that I trusted or someone that I felt accepted me for me, decided to leave. And that hurts. And that makes me feel like something's wrong with me or something's not good enough. And so what I'll do is I'll play with that and I'll emotionally let myself go there and I'll feel the trigger. So I'll feel that feeling of I'm not good enough and I'm not worthy and something's wrong with me. And everyone's going to abandon me. Every time I get close to somebody and they see me for who I really am, then they're just going to leave me. And as I said, I will visit that emotionally, but I won't attach to it. I'm not forcing it to be real. I'm not believing it to necessarily be real. It feels like it's real when I visit it, but I go there to feel the feelings. And what I've come to find, and this is where I've started to notice, in, let's say, the past little bit over a year now, this is where I've noticed the most value in my healing process is when I'm feeling those really heavy emotions and I'm visiting these worst case scenarios. I'm getting to a place where I'm accepting the emotional pain. So every time I go into that wound of that shame and that unworthiness and that fear and that sadness, as I'm going into it with a foundation of just being present with it and accepting it, not trying to change it, I'm noticing it's slowly processing in my nervous system. Because it's like every time I go there, it gets a little, like tiny, tiny little increments. It gets less charged. Because you can only visit something so many times until you start to get a little bit more used to that thing, where it starts to turn into like, wow, this used to have such an oomph to it. And now it's just like, oh, I've been here before and I know what this is. Have you ever met someone before that you kind of maybe had an idea of who they were? And when you met them, it was very charged and exciting or very ecstatic. And then as you got to get closer with them and actually get to see them for who they really are, you realize, oh, they're just a human like me. And it becomes a lot more calm in the connection. It's not that same level of intensity. So something very similar happens for me every time I visit my core wounds from a place of acceptance. It's like I've been spending years of my life consciously and unconsciously avoiding these feelings. And now when I completely flip it around and I go directly into them, I can sense I'm getting more comfortable and more used to feelings that are uncomfortable feelings. And it brings me to a place where I really get to ask myself and I get to, really explore where I'm at in regards to my relationship to me. So if this person, hypothetical person, abandons me that I really care about, what's going to happen for me then? Yeah, it's going to trigger wounds. It's going to hurt. But now that I'm present with those wounds and I'm okay with feeling those feelings, then what? What happens next? Well, what I know is that regardless, I'm going to be there for myself. So if this hypothetical person abandons me, one, I'm going to feel what I feel. I'm going to be present with it. I'm not going to avoid it. I'm not going to try to cope away from it. And I'm not going to abandon me. So if they leave me, that's going to hurt, but that's also okay. And I'm not going to leave me. I'm not going to separate from my authenticity to hopefully then be reaccepted by that person or be accepted by other people because that situation hurt so much that I don't even want to be me anymore. That's something that I know I'm not going to do because I already have enough life experience of what it's like to not be authentic or to not be who I really am. I've lived enough of that life to know what that feels like and recognize it inside of my system, and now be at a point of choice where I can say, no, I don't think I'm going to wear a mask. And worst case scenario, I feel hurt, but then I'm present with the hurt. And that is what it is. And if I can be there for me and know that I'm going to be with my inner child as it goes through its healing, that's really all I need. That's really all I'm truly, at the deepest level, truly desiring, is to make sure that I know I'm taking care of me and I'm loving myself directly between me and my inner child and all of the different parts of me. So this is what it's come down to as I've kind of experimented with working with the unknown and working with the darker parts of myself. And the more that I've really come to this understanding within, the more I'm realizing this is exactly what it means to love myself. Like, once again, worst case scenario, I get abandoned and I get betrayed by everyone that I love, and then I end up homeless. That's like the absolute worst case scenario. But if I'm willing to actually emotionally feel those feelings of what that worst case scenario is, and I still know at the end of all of it, I'm not going to fragment and abandon myself. I'm not going to intentionally suppress and intentionally run from it. That is the deepest sense of self-love and creating safety within self. So, from this place, what else is there to truly fear in life? Or what else is worth separating from who I am outside of this absolute worst case scenario? And the answer to that question is nothing. Like, the worst case scenario is the worst case scenario. And if I can already emotionally and somatically go there and feel what I need to feel and not betray myself, then that is literally the deepest form of self-love. And this is exactly what I've been doing with my process during the darkest times of it. So when things are not going my way, things are seeming like they're not working out, when, something comes out of nowhere and it really hits me, it's like, that hurts. This makes me feel unstable, or this makes me insecure, or I didn't expect it to happen this way. When things move into the unknown, where it's like, I have no idea where this is going and what it's leading to, I've found it to be a great opportunity to literally just be present, to just live in the moment and take it one day at a time, one step at a time, one feeling at a time, one thought at a time. And no matter how heavy and negative things can get, it's like, am I allowing myself to just be present with it the same way that I can allow myself to be present when things are harmonized and when things are working out the way that I want them to and when things feel good? So this is what I've been doing in my process, and I've come to realize that it's in my darkest times that I'm actually developing the deepest layers of real self-love. And by paradox of this, I'm actually inviting in the most love and connection I've ever experienced in my entire life. And I'm not even trying. It's naturally attracting to me. Not because I need it, not because I'm pushing for it or I'm searching for it. It's literally just coming to me because it's the way that I'm currently relating to myself. And it's awesome to know this and to see this because, of course, the people that I'm also attracting, they're attracting me too. It's like a dual thing. And I'm noticing there's a lot more depth to my relationships and just in my life in general. There's a lot more integrity, a lot more trust and safety in these connections. And I think another really cool thing to notice is there's a sense of paralleling, which means, all of the different surface level communications and conversations that I used to have when I was not willing to be who I really am. When I was wearing a mask in the past, trying to protect from my deeper vulnerabilities, there was a lot of not so meaningful conversations. It was a lot of just, filling the void types of conversations. Like, let's talk about things that feel good so we don't have to go there. And what that did is it created a disconnect between me and other people where there was a lack of parallel. Like, I couldn't fully relate to what other people were fully going through because I felt like I was going through something different, but I was too afraid to share where I actually was. And it was almost like it was holding me in a cycle of a certain resonance that wasn't really what I was experiencing. So that there was a lack in connection. There was a disconnect. Whereas now, as I lay everything out on the table and I, trust myself to be vulnerable and to also know when to have boundaries with people, which gives me more capacity to be vulnerable, I lead with trust and I lead with honesty. I lead with sensitivity and I allow myself space to see how do people receive that and then how do they respond to it, because that helps me see how are they relating to themselves and is this a good fit for connection. And what I've come to notice is that, there's some people that don't resonate. Some people, they want to play games. They still want to wear a mask. Some people are just still traumatized, like very, very traumatized to the point where they don't have capacity to let go of the persona yet. And as I said, I know how to have boundaries with that. And I've also seen for most of these situations, the relationships just don't work out anyways. Something kind of interjects or something happens that causes it to sort of end naturally. But for the relationships that freely come in and where there is a sense of connection and a sense of safety and trust, there's a paralleling that's happening, which is like I'm seeing in another person literal parts of myself that are synchronizing with their process and vice versa. So it's like I'm watching them grow as I'm growing in a similar way and vice versa. And that is one of the most fulfilling feelings there is when you have connections with people where you can feel like you're really being seen and you're really being heard. There's a spiritual component to this where it almost feels like your soul is growing with this person. And this experience is vast, in regards to what I'm explaining. This can happen with all of your different relationships to different degrees. Some people you might have more of an intimate connection with than others, but you can absolutely have this type of relationship with all of your relationships if you are really honoring that relationship with yourself and you're creating space for that to come in, which does take time, and it takes time to trust yourself in that way and to build that capacity. But this is one of the beautiful things that also comes out of darkness and comes out of some of the roughest times that you might find yourself in, is this ability to literally love yourself and be okay completely alone and completely by yourself at your absolute worst. When you're feeling the worst, it's like if you can accept yourself there and you can be present with what is going on there and realize that you're good enough. Like, you're literally worthy of love and connection just because you are you. And you're a human. And you're in existence. Like, that means you're enough. That alone. It has nothing to do with your job title. It has nothing to do with what you do. It has nothing to do with the things you're saying and the knowledge you know and what you're accomplishing and what you're striving for. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's just the simple fact that you are who you are. And you were born that way. You didn't need to perform. You didn't need to do anything to be loved by, whoever it is that birthed you. There was some sense of unconditional love in that. And that's still true till this day. But it's something that we as adults have to remember, and then we have to relate to ourselves in that same way, which takes time. Especially when we've gone through all the different life experiences we have, and we've internalized a lot of trauma, and then we've repressed things, and then we've created protective mechanisms to layer ourselves from those vulnerabilities. We have to undo and unwind and reopen our shell and be more willing to feel, more willing to connect to sensations, more willing to literally be vulnerable and be honest, be more willing to listen to your intuition and your instincts and have boundaries where boundaries are needed, more willing to protect your inner child so that you can safely be vulnerable. These are all things that are a part of the process of self-discovery. And it is in your darkest times where you are literally learning how to love yourself the most. And that's where we're going to leave it. So I'm sure in some ways this is going to resonate with quite a few of you out there. And it's an honor to be a part of your process in that way. So if you're looking for a group of people that are doing this deeper inner work, first link below. I encourage you to join in. Second link is where you can book calls with me. You can do one-on-one calls directly, like a one-off call, or you can do mentorships. So if you're looking for a deeper support in your process, I would be honored to work with you in this mentorship type of fashion. Third link is the Patreon. I have an entire trauma course that takes you from start to finish, everything you need to know, covering all of the stuff we covered in today's video, how to regulate your nervous system by creating a foundation in your life that supports you to do it. I encourage you to check it out. And then for tier number 3 of the Patreon, this is the nervous system healing ritual that is happening on the 29th of this month. If you're going to participate in it, now is the time to sign up. This is a very profound catalyst that is only meant for those of you that are really honoring your inner process. It is not a quick fix, and it is not a hack. It is a real deal remote energy transfer. If you're someone that's committed to it, it can significantly, let's say, jumpstart the process of releasing trapped energy in the body, giving you the opportunity to be present with it and release it, and then regulate your nervous system in a way that maybe you've never experienced before. Okay? Once again, now is the time to sign up if you're going to be participating this month. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap it up here. I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of the day or night, wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.